When I was 17 years old, my family moved to another state without telling me. They left only a note that said, "You'll figure it out." Before we begin, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and activate the notification bell. Your support is very important so this channel can continue growing, and so more people can discover stories like this one. And don't forget to leave your comment. I want to know what you think as the story unfolds. Now, let's begin. 12 years later, when I had finally managed to build a life without them, they decided to reappear, wanting to reconnect. That day, I came home and found everything empty. There was only a note on the kitchen counter. It was the cruelest thing I have ever read in my life. It said only, "You'll figure it out." I had no idea what I had done wrong. I thought they were tired of pretending they loved me, but the truth is, they never pretended. When I was 13, I baked a birthday cake for my mother all by myself, and the only thing she said was that it was lumpy. At 15, I helped my brother study for his college entrance exam. Meanwhile, he called me a know-it-all and slammed the door in my face. At 16, I gave my entire paycheck to my father so he could pay the bills. Later, when I mentioned it, he yelled at me and said I was useless. I was always useful, but I was never loved. My parents and my brother, my only family, packed their bags and moved to another state without telling me a single word. I found out a week later from the landlord. I had exactly 5 days to leave because they had ended the lease early. I spent 3 nights at a friend's house until I had nowhere else to go. In the end, I slept in the back of a storage unit I rented with what little savings I had left. I snuck into the YMCA locker rooms to shower. I ate peanut butter straight from the spoon for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I used the public library computers to look for jobs and pretended everything was fine, until I got a job as a waitress at a diner on the night shift. The manager was rough, but fair. He paid me in cash until I could get an ID. One day I nearly passed out from exhaustion, and he let me sleep for a while in the break room. I patched my life together however I could. I bought a prepaid phone, kept every receipt, watched free YouTube tutorials about finances and goal setting. The first year I barely survived, but I held on. The turning point came when a regular customer at the diner offered me a temporary job organizing old files in an office. It paid 3 times more than my waitress salary. I accepted immediately. I learned fast. I arrived early. I asked questions. By 22, I was working full-time as a freelancer. At 25, I opened my own consulting business. Just me, a folding table, and a borrowed computer. At 27, I had 5 collaborators, my own office, and a client list I had once only dreamed of. And at 29, I officially became a millionaire. Not the Instagram kind that pretends for likes. It was real money, a retirement fund, no debt, a paid-off apartment, and health insurance I could afford. When I saw 7 figures in my bank app for the first time, I cried. Throughout all those difficult years, my family never tried to contact me, not once. Once, I saw my brother appear in my friend's suggestions. Today, he's married and still lives in the state they moved to. I stared at the screen for a long time, wondering if he ever told his wife that I exist, if he said I left, or if he simply doesn't talk about me at all. Sometimes I wonder if it would have been easier to hate them, but honestly, it was never hate. It was heartbreak. Today I'm in therapy because I want to remain whole. I keep a list of people who saved me when they had no obligation to do so. Co-workers, classmates, strangers who showed me what real support looks like. Last week, an interview I gave on a podcast about family estrangement went viral. It reached 1 million views in 4 days. My inbox filled with messages of support, gratitude, people saying I gave voice to their pain. And in the middle of all that, one email stood out. The subject line read, "Are you still our daughter?" It was from my mother. No apologies, just a paragraph saying she had heard my side of the story and that maybe we could talk. Then another email arrived, this time from my brother. "I miss you. Can we fix this?" I stared at the screen for a long time before closing my laptop. I sat there and asked myself, does healing mean looking back or moving forward? I didn't reply right away. I needed time to process everything. My therapist, Melissa, suggested I wait at least a week before making any decision. "Give yourself time to feel whatever comes up," she said during the session. "There's no rush to respond." That's what I did. I focused on work, went to the gym, had dinner with friends, normal things, but those emails haunted me. I opened them, read them, and closed them again more times than I can count. My mother's message felt cold, almost clinical, as if she were writing to a distant acquaintance. My brother's was shorter, but sounded more sincere. I couldn't stop thinking about that. 10 days later, I decided to reply to my brother first. Something very simple. I wrote, 12 years have passed. What changed? And I sent it before I could overthink it. The response came in less than an hour. He said the podcast had been a wake-up call. He claimed he was only 15 when they left me behind, that he had no choice, that he always thought about me, that he had searched for me online a few times but never had the courage to write, that seeing my success filled him with pride. But I didn't fully buy it. If he cared that much, why now? Only after I became visible. I asked him exactly that. The next email was longer. He admitted they were going through financial difficulties, that my parents' business had failed, that his wife was pregnant with their second child, and that medical debts were piling up. I felt a chill in my stomach. There it was, the real reason. I took another week to respond. Then my mother sent another email, this time with old family photos. Pictures of me as a baby, photos of us at the beach. I must have been 5 or 6 years old. Photos of me and Michael building a snowman, happy moments that felt like they had happened to someone else. At the end of the email, she wrote, "We made mistakes. We want to fix it." I showed the emails to Melissa at my next session. She reminded me that I was in control, that I could set boundaries, that I didn't owe them anything. But she also said that closure might help me move forward, whether that meant forgiving them or saying goodbye forever. I nodded, but inside I was torn. Part of me wanted to tell them to go to hell. Another part wanted to understand why they left me. And a small, foolish part of me still wanted them to love me. I decided to meet my brother first. Just him, without my parents. We agreed to meet at a cafe in Chicago, halfway for both of us. I took an early flight, stayed at a hotel, and tried to calm my nerves. I almost canceled 3 times, but at 2 o'clock I walked into the cafe and saw him immediately. He looked older, heavier, starting to go bald. But his eyes were the same. He stood up when he saw me, a bit awkward. I didn't hug him. We just sat across from each other with our coffees like 2 strangers. The first 20 minutes were painful. Small talk about the weather, my flight, the drive he took, until he finally started apologizing. "Emma, I'm sorry," Michael said, his voice breaking. "I was just a kid back then. I only found out they were leaving you behind when it was already too late. I was afraid to stand up to them. I just listened, watching his face, searching for signs of lies. He seemed sincere, but I had been fooled before. Then I asked the question that had haunted me for 12 years. Why me? Why was I the one they left behind?" He looked down at his coffee. "They always saw you as the strong one, the independent one, the one who could handle things on her own. They convinced themselves you'd be better off without them." It was the most absurd thing I had ever heard. I told him about the storage unit. I told him about the days when I only ate peanut butter, about sneaking showers at the YMCA, and about working night shifts at 17. His face collapsed instantly. "I didn't know," he whispered. "They told me you had a plan, that you wanted to stay, that you were going to live with a friend's family, that it was your choice to distance yourself from us. It was all a lie." By the end of the meeting, I didn't know what to think. He seemed genuinely remorseful. He showed me photos of his wife and daughter, talked about his job as an accountant, asked about my company. He didn't ask for money directly, which surprised me. When we said goodbye, he hugged me. I let him, but I didn't hug him back. I stood there with my arms hanging at my sides, feeling nothing. I went back to the hotel and called Melissa. I told her everything. She helped me see that even though my brother seemed sorry, he was still putting himself in the role of the victim, without truly acknowledging his responsibility in my abandonment. And she was right. He was 15, not 5. Old enough to pick up a phone, send an email, or at least check on how I was at some point during those 12 years. That night, my mother called. I hadn't given her my number, so it could only have come from Michael. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Her voice sounded older, rougher. She started crying as soon as I said hello. She went on about how proud she was of me, how she had always known I would make it, how I was special. I let her talk until she ran out of words. Then I asked the same question I had asked my brother. Why me? Her answer was different. "We were in debt, Emma. We couldn't support 3 people. We knew you were smart enough to figure things out on your own. We imagined you would seek social services and be taken in by a better family. We thought we were doing you a favor." I hung up immediately, blocked her number, threw my phone across the room, and screamed into a pillow. The next day, I received an email from my father, the first contact in 12 years. And guess what? No apology. Instead, he wrote about how hard his life had been. He talked about medical bills, failed businesses, the surgery Michael's wife needed, the risk of eviction they were facing. And at the end of the email came the request. He asked if I could help the family. Not a single question about my life. No acknowledgement of what they had done to me. I forwarded the email to Melissa with the subject line. Here it is. She called me immediately. Even though it was Sunday, we spent an hour talking about boundaries, about the difference between forgiveness and reconciliation, about what it means to help versus enabling dependence, and above all, about what I truly wanted, not what I thought I was supposed to want. On Monday morning, I made my decision. I sent an email to Michael saying I was glad I had seen him, that I understood he had been in a difficult position back then, and that I was willing to have a relationship with him and his family, but with very clear rules. No money, no loans, no financial support of any kind, and no relationship with our parents until they fully took responsibility for what they had done. His response came immediately, and it said a lot about him. "I'm very disappointed, Emma," he wrote. "Our parents need help. Family has to support each other. You're being selfish with your success." All the guilt triggers they had planted in me during childhood activated at once, but I didn't respond. Instead, I scheduled another session with Melissa and bought a trip to Bali. I needed space to process everything. 3 days later, Michael called and left a voicemail apologizing for the email, saying he understood my position, that he still wanted to maintain a relationship under my terms, and that he would respect my boundaries. I listened to the message twice, trying to decide whether he was sincere or just changing strategies. I decided to give him another chance, but cautiously. I went to Bali anyway. I spent 2 weeks on the beach, walking through rice fields, meditating. I needed that distance. When I came back, I had 6 emails from my father, each more desperate than the last. I didn't even open them. There was also a message from Michael asking if we could talk again. I agreed to a call. Just that. The conversation started calmly. He apologized again for having pressured me. "I've thought a lot about what you told me," he said. "I started therapy too." I believed that part. He sounded different, less defensive. We talked about his kids, my work, normal things. Then he mentioned that our parents were going to visit him that weekend and asked if I would agree to see them for just 1 hour in a public place. My chest tightened. "I'm not ready for that, Michael." He pushed a little but backed off when I stayed silent. After hanging up, I called Melissa. We had an emergency session that same night. She helped me understand that my fear of seeing them wasn't hatred. It was because deep down I still wanted their approval. I still wanted to be loved by them. I still wanted to be enough. It was pathetic, but it was true. I cried for an hour in her office. The next day, Michael sent another message. He said our mother had cried all night after he told her I wouldn't see them, and that our father was talking about driving to my city. Even so, I felt panic. I blocked Michael's number immediately. Then I called my assistant and told her I would be working from home all week. I ordered groceries for delivery. I basically locked myself inside my apartment, like a frightened child. On Wednesday, the doorman called. He said there was a couple asking for me. They didn't want to give their names. I knew instantly. I said I wasn't receiving visitors. 5 minutes later, my phone rang from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was my father. "Emma, we drove 8 hours to see you," he said, his voice thick with anger. "You're being childish. We deserve a chance to explain ourselves." I deleted the message and turned off my phone. On Thursday morning, I woke up to someone pounding hard on my door. I froze in bed, my heart racing. I looked through the peephole. It was them, my parents, standing in the hallway as if they had some right to be there. "Emma, please." My mother's voice was muffled by the door. "We just want to talk. We know you're there." And my father added, "We love you." I didn't open the door. I sat on the floor, leaning against the wall, shaking. After a while, they left. I immediately called building security. I asked them never to let those people up again. The guard looked concerned and asked if I wanted to call the police. I said no. I just asked that they not be allowed in. Then I called Melissa. She came to my place at lunchtime, brought a sandwich, and sat with me while I cried. She told me I had every right to enforce my boundaries, that I owed them nothing, that what they were doing was harassment, not reconciliation. After she left, I received another message from Michael. He was furious. He said I had humiliated our parents, that they were staying in a cheap motel, that they couldn't afford it just to try to see me, that his wife needed surgery the following month, and that they were hoping I would help. He said I was being cruel. I didn't respond. On Friday morning, I decided I needed to leave the city for a while. I bought a ticket to visit my friend Rachel in Portland. She was one of the few people who helped me when I had nowhere to stay. She let me sleep on her couch for a week when the whole world seemed to have turned its back on me. I trusted her completely. I was throwing clothes into my suitcase when my phone rang. Unknown number again. I ignored it. 10 minutes later, the doorman called me. He said there was a woman downstairs who wasn't feeling well, that she appeared to be having a medical episode. He said she was asking for me by name, claiming to be my mother. My stomach twisted. I asked him to call an ambulance if necessary, but told him clearly that I would not come down. He sounded uncomfortable, but agreed. I finished packing my things and went downstairs an hour later. I looked carefully before entering the lobby. There was no sign of them. I felt enormous relief, but also a strange sense of guilt. The doorman gave me an odd look as I passed. He said the ambulance had come, that the woman had chest pain, and that they had taken her to Memorial Hospital. I nodded and hurried to the Uber that was already waiting for me. At the airport, I received another call from Michael. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mom had a heart attack," he was crying. "She's in surgery. This is your fault for stressing her out," I said, and hung up on him. I called Melissa and told her what had happened. I asked her if I was a horrible person. "Emma, listen to me," she said firmly. "You are not responsible for your mother's health. This looks much more like an attempt at manipulation. Get on that plane and take care of yourself." And that's what I did. I spent the weekend with Rachel. I told her everything. She remembered perfectly the time when my family abandoned me. She remembered how broken I was. She was furious on my behalf. "They don't deserve a single minute of your time," she said as she poured me another glass of wine. "Not after what they did to you." It was comforting to have someone 100% on my side. On Sunday night, I received an email from my father. My mother was stable, they had placed a stent, and she would be discharged on Tuesday. The email ended with, "She's asking for you. Don't you think you've punished us enough already?" I showed it to Rachel. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck that way. She said it was textbook emotional blackmail. I knew she was right, but part of me still felt guilty. I returned home on Monday and found a bouquet of flowers left at the door of my apartment. The card said, "Please call us. We're staying at the Holiday Inn until Wednesday. No apology, no respect for my boundaries, just another demand." I threw the flowers straight into the trash. On Tuesday morning, I received a message from an unknown number. It was a photo of my mother in a hospital bed, pale and fragile. The message said, "She may not have much time left. Are you sure you want to live with this regret?" I blocked the number. I called Melissa. She suggested that I step away from social media, that I change my phone number. Maybe it would even be better if you stayed with a friend for a while. I agreed. I called my assistant and told her I would be working remotely for the next 2 weeks. I started packing another suitcase. Before leaving, the doorman called again. He said there was a young woman downstairs asking for me. He said she was with a small child and had identified herself as my sister-in-law. I felt cornered. These people weren't going to stop. I asked the doorman to let her come up. I decided to face this once and for all. The woman who knocked on my door looked exhausted, deep dark circles under her eyes. She was carrying a sleeping little girl resting on her shoulder. "I'm Jenny," she said softly. "Michael's wife. I came alone because I wanted to talk to you without all this family drama." I let her in, reluctantly. I offered her water. She accepted it gratefully. Jenny laid the child down on my couch, covered her with a small blanket, then sat at the kitchen table and started to talk. "I only found out about you about 3 years ago," she confessed. "Michael told me you had left at 17, that you cut contact with the family. I always thought it was strange, but I never pushed. When I heard your podcast, it was a shock. I confronted him, and that's when he finally told me the truth. I just listened." Jenny seemed sincere, no longer knowing what to believe. "I was horrified by what they did to you," she continued. "I pushed Michael to contact you, but I had no idea they were going to ask you for money. I was ashamed and angry. Yes, I need surgery for a thyroid issue, but we have health insurance. The ones with financial problems are your parents, not us." I asked her why she had come. She looked me straight in the eyes. "Because you deserve to know the whole truth. Your parents are telling everyone that you were the one who abandoned the family, that you have mental health issues, that you stole their money before disappearing, that they spent years trying to find you. It's all lies. All of it to cover up what they did to you." It felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "How do you know that's true?" I asked. She pulled out her phone and showed me old Facebook posts. My mother asking for prayers to find her troubled daughter. My father saying I had taken the family's savings before running away. Posts about hiring private investigators, about looking for me in homeless shelters. All carefully constructed to turn them into the victims. All posted years after they abandoned me. Jenny apologized for having been part of it, even unknowingly. She said she had also confronted my parents and that they had eventually confessed everything when she threatened to tell the truth to the whole family. They said they were desperate because their lies were falling apart, that the podcast made people start asking questions they could no longer answer. At that moment, her daughter woke up. A beautiful little girl with soft curls. "This is Lily," Jenny said softly. "She's 3 years old, and I'm expecting another little girl. I want my daughters to know their aunt, but only if you want that too. No pressure, no guilt. Just an open door if one day you decide to walk through it." After they left, I spent hours sitting in my apartment, processing everything. I called Melissa again and told her everything Jenny had said. She wasn't surprised. "Abusers often control the narrative," she explained. "They create alternative realities where they're always the victims." She asked me what I wanted to do now. Honestly, I didn't know. That night, I received another email from my father, but this one was different. It was full of rage, threatening. He said that if I was spreading lies about them online, they would sue me for defamation. He claimed they had proof that I had stolen money from them. He said that if I didn't take down the podcast and issue a public apology, they would tell their version to the press. They demanded financial compensation for damage to their reputation. I forwarded the email to Melissa and then to my lawyer, Marcos. He called me immediately. "This is just an empty threat," he reassured me. "Truth is an absolute defense against defamation. Save everything but don't respond. If they actually file something, I'll handle it. But honestly, people who truly plan to sue don't warn you first." The next day, I received a call from Michael. I let it go to voicemail. He sounded terrified. "Emma, Jenny told me she visited you. Our parents are furious. Now they're bad-mouthing her too. I'm afraid they'll do something crazy. Please call me from Jenny's phone, not mine." I no longer knew who to trust. I called Marcos again. He suggested that I meet with Michael and Jenny in a public place, with him present as my lawyer, just to hear what they had to say. I agreed reluctantly. We met at a restaurant near Marcos's office the next day. They arrived on time. Both of them looked terrible, stressed, exhausted. Jenny had a bruise on her arm that she tried to hide. Michael couldn't even look me in the eyes. "I'm Marcos, Emma's lawyer," he said as soon as we sat down, and I saw Michael shrink in his chair. We ordered coffee and they began to talk. And what came out was worse than I had imagined. My parents had been living off Michael for years. They came in and out of his house asking for money for emergencies, took care of the kids while criticizing every decision he made as a father. When Jenny confronted them about me, my father grabbed her arm so hard that it left bruises. Michael kicked my parents out of the house. Since then, they had been staying in a cheap motel, calling nonstop, showing up at his workplace. I listened in silence as my brother broke down, explaining how our parents had controlled his entire life, how they convinced him that I had abandoned the family, how he had been too afraid to question their version of events. how he had been trapped in that web of manipulation and lies for 12 years, how he was terrified they might hurt Jenny or the children. Marcos asked careful questions about financial ties, property deeds, bank accounts, whether our parents had keys to the house. Michael answered everything. He said they had co-signed the mortgage with him, that his father still had access to his bank account since college, that they had copies of the keys and knew all his passwords. Marcos wrote everything down, occasionally giving me a discreet glance. When the meeting ended, I was exhausted, but my mind was clearer. This was no longer just about me. Michael and Jenny were victims too, just in a different way. I had escaped. They were still trapped. Marco suggested they hire their own lawyer, gave them the card of a colleague, and recommended changing locks, passwords, and banks immediately. They were overwhelmed, but grateful. As we were leaving, Michael hugged me. This time, I hugged him back. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was something. An acknowledgement that we had been hurt by the same people. Maybe we could help each other heal. That night, I received a flood of completely unhinged messages from my parents' numbers. Accusations, threats, attempts to make me feel guilty. I blocked everything. Then I called Jenny and asked if they were safe. She said yes. They had changed the locks. They had spent the previous night at friend's house. They were seeking a restraining order. I felt relieved, but still worried. The next morning, I woke up to my phone ringing. It was Jenny, panicked. Their house had been broken into. She was crying. They had taken photos of Lily as a baby, important documents, Michael's laptop, and left a note. Family matters should stay in the family. I told her to call the police immediately and said I was on my way. I called Marcos while driving. When I arrived, a patrol car was parked in front of the house. A police officer was taking statements in the living room. The house was a mess, drawers overturned, papers scattered everywhere. Michael was sitting on the couch with his face in his hands. Jenny was showing the officer everything that was missing. I introduced myself as family, there to help. The officer seemed skeptical at the idea that the grandparents had broken into their own children's house. Are you sure they didn't use a key? Maybe this was a misunderstanding. Jenny showed her injured arm. She talked about the aggressive behavior, the threats, how they were being stalked. He took notes, but still didn't seem to take it seriously. He said that without concrete proof, it would be hard to determine who had done it. After the police left, we cleaned up the mess together. We discovered more things missing. Photo albums, financial documents, the spare car key. Michael was devastated. "This is my fault," he said. "I should have protected my family better. I should have confronted them years ago. I should have tried harder to find you." I didn't disagree, but I didn't pile on either. We were past that point. Marcos arrived when we were almost finished. He looked around. "Seriously?" he said. "This changes everything. We need to document absolutely everything. Breaking and entering is a crime. Everyone should stay somewhere else for a few days. Tomorrow I'll help you request emergency protective measures." We agreed, too exhausted to argue. Jenny packed bags while Michael and I tried to secure the house. We changed the locks again, checked the windows, talked about installing security cameras. It was surreal to have to take these precautions against our own parents, but it was necessary. They had crossed a line there was no coming back from. As we were leaving, Michael received a message from our father. Just 3 words: "We're watching you." He showed it to me with trembling hands. I took a screenshot, sent it to Marcos, and made a decision. I told them they would stay with me. My building had security, cameras, a doorman who already knew not to let my parents in. They accepted immediately. That night, the 4 of us ate takeout in my living room. Lily played with the toys Jenny had brought. We spoke quietly about next steps, legal measures, reports, changing phone numbers and email addresses, maybe even moving, how to protect ourselves long term. It wasn't the kind of family reunion I ever imagined. Sitting there with the brother who had left me behind, his wife who had believed lies about me, and his daughter, completely innocent in all of this. Somehow, it felt right, as if we were finally facing the truth together. And maybe, just maybe, we could build something new from the ashes of what our parents had destroyed. The next morning, Marcos called. He said he had requested emergency protective orders for all of us, and that we would have to appear in court the following week to make them permanent. He also said he had reported the break-in to a detective he knew, who was taking the case more seriously than the first officers. He recommended that we stay together until everything was resolved. I agreed. I called my assistant and told her I'd be working from home indefinitely. "Family emergency," I explained. She understood and reorganized my schedule. I set up a makeshift office in the guest room for Michael, who also needed to work remotely. Jenny and Lily took over the living room with pillow forts and cartoons. It was strange having people in my home. I'd lived alone for years. I liked my quiet routine, the clean countertop, the empty sink. But there was also something comforting in the noise, in Lily's laughter, in the soft sound of Jenny folding clothes, in the tapping of Michael's keyboard from the other room. That felt like family. Not the one that abandoned me, but the one we might be building now. That afternoon, the doorman called to say there was a delivery. Flowers. I asked him to read the card before letting them up. He read, "We know where you are. This isn't over." I told him to refuse the delivery and to call the police if the courier refused to take them back. Then I called Marcos. He said he would add that to the case, that it strengthened the request for the protective order, and that we were doing everything right. I didn't tell Michael or Jenny about the flowers. They were stressed enough already. Instead, I ordered more groceries, made dinner for everyone, played with Lily, and tried to create a bit of normalcy inside that chaos. But that night, after everyone fell asleep, I stood alone in the kitchen and finally let everything out. The fear, the anger, the sadness, and even a strange sense of hope. I cried silently, my face buried in a dish towel so no one would hear me. The next morning, Jenny found me making coffee. She asked if I was okay. I lied. Yes. She didn't believe me. She sat at the counter. "It's okay not to be okay, Emma," she said gently. "I'm not okay either." Michael cries in the shower thinking no one notices. Lily keeps asking when we can go home. This whole situation is awful, but I'm grateful we're facing it together. I looked at her. This woman who until recently was a stranger and now part of my life. I asked her why she had come to see me that first day. Why she believed me instead of the family she had known for years. She smiled sadly. "I always felt something was wrong with your parents. With the stories they told, with the way they controlled Michael. The podcast just confirmed what I already suspected. And I couldn't allow my daughters to grow up believing that abandoning a child is acceptable." I hugged her then. It was our first hug. A little awkward but sincere, like the beginning of something. Not friendship yet, but connection, solidarity, a shared determination to break the cycle of abuse that had hurt us so deeply. And so the days settled into a new routine. Working, cooking, playing with Lily, checking in with Marcos, jumping at every unexpected noise, flinching every time a phone rang. We lived in a strange limbo between domestic normalcy and constant underlying tension. We were safe, but not at peace. Together, but still healing. Family, but still learning what that meant. On Friday, Marcos called with news. The detective had obtained evidence. Security footage from a gas station near Michael's house showed our parents' car parked there during the time of the break-in. The hearing for the protective order had been scheduled for Monday. Marcos was confident the judge would approve it. We all felt relief, but along with it came that lingering anxiety, still waiting for the next attack. And it came that very night. A rock thrown through the window of Michael's car in the building's garage. This time they didn't leave a note, and they didn't need to. The message was clear. The security cameras showed a man wearing a cap, his face carefully turned away from the lenses. It couldn't be proven it was our father, but we knew. We filed another police report, added it to the case, tried to hide the fear from Lily. On Sunday night, we gathered to plan for court. Appropriate clothing, what to say, what evidence to bring, how to explain our family history without sounding insane, how to convince the judge of the pattern of aggression, how to protect ourselves legally, emotionally, and physically. It was surreal to talk about our parents that way, as if they were strangers, dangerous strangers who just happened to share our DNA. While we were talking, my phone vibrated with an email notification. It was from my mother. Subject, last chance. I almost deleted it without reading, but something made me open it. It was very short. Just one line. "If you go to court tomorrow, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." I showed it to Marcos, who had stayed for dinner. He took a screenshot, added it to our file, and advised me not to respond. He said that kind of threat only strengthened our case. That night, no one slept well. I stayed up checking the locks, listening to every sound, imagining what my parents might do, wondering whether we were overreacting or underestimating the danger. How had my life come to this? From an abandoned teenager to a successful businesswoman, only to now be hiding inside my own apartment, afraid of the people who brought me into the world. Monday morning arrived with a strange calm. We dressed carefully, business casual, sober clothes that conveyed seriousness, respect, confidence. Jenny arranged for a friend to watch Lily. We drove separately as a precaution. We met Marcos on the courthouse steps. He looked confident, folder in hand. He said he'd handled dozens of cases like this, that the evidence was solid, that judges took threats seriously, that we would be protected. When we entered the building, I saw them, my parents, standing near the entrance. They looked older than I remembered, smaller somehow. My mother saw me first and took a step toward me. My father grabbed her arm and stopped her. They watched us pass without saying anything, without trying to approach. They just stood there, staring, with a mix of anger and maybe fear. We walked past them, checked in, and followed Marcos to the right courtroom. We sat together on the bench, waiting for our case to be called. I felt the moment my parents entered. I knew they were sitting on the other side of the room. I could hear whispers, but I didn't turn around. I kept my eyes forward, focused on breathing. The judge called our case. We stood, walked forward, took our places. Marcos presented the evidence calmly. The break-in, the threatening messages, the flowers, the brick, the email, the history of abandonment and manipulation. The judge listened carefully, asked objective questions, and cast increasingly severe looks toward my parents. When it was their turn, they approached the stand alone, without a lawyer. Just the two of them. My father spoke first. He claimed we were exaggerating, that they only wanted to reconnect as a family, that they had never broken any laws, that they loved us and wanted redemption, that everything was a misunderstanding blown out of proportion. The judge asked about the camera footage, about the messages. My father denied everything. He said it wasn't them in the images, that the texts were being misinterpreted, that they were the real victims. My mother just nodded and occasionally dabbed her eyes with a tissue. Then the judge went straight to the abandonment. Did you leave your underage daughter alone and move to another state? My father hesitated. He started talking about troubled teenagers, difficult decisions, doing what they thought was right. The judge interrupted him and repeated the question directly. Did you abandon your underage daughter? My father lowered his head and muttered something about financial difficulties. The judge's expression hardened. After hearing both sides, the judge granted the protective orders. 3 years of no contact, no approaching our homes or workplaces, no messages through third parties. Any violation would result in immediate arrest. My parents looked stunned, as if they couldn't believe this was happening, as if they had never faced consequences for anything. As we left the courthouse, my mother said my name once, softly, but I kept walking without looking back, feeling the weight lift with every step. It wasn't healing yet, but it was the beginning. The first real barrier they couldn't cross without serious consequence. Outside, Marcos shook our hands. He said we'd done an excellent job, that the orders were well supported, that we should call him immediately if there was any violation, and that he was proud of us for facing all of this. We thanked him, dazed but relieved, like survivors of a natural disaster stepping into sunlight after a storm. Michael hugged me on the courthouse steps, a real hug, tight. I'm sorry, Emma, he said, his voice breaking, for everything, for not protecting you, for not finding you sooner, for believing them, for bringing this chaos back into your life. I hugged him back. I told him we were going to be okay, that now we had each other, that we could build something new, something better. As we walked toward our cars, my phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. I almost didn't look, but when I did, a chill ran down my spine. It was a photo of Lily playing in a friend's backyard, unaware she was being watched. Beneath the photo, just 4 words. This isn't over yet. I showed it to Michael immediately. His face went pale. He called Jenny, who was already on her way to pick up Lily, and told her to meet us at my apartment. I called Marcos from the car, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. He told me to forward the message and drive straight home. He said he would call the police and meet us there, that this was a clear violation of the protective order, that we needed to stay calm but alert. The drive back felt endless. I checked the rearview mirrors, paranoid, convinced my parents were following me. When I finally parked in the building's garage, I sat there for a minute, just breathing, trying to steady myself before facing Michael and Jenny. They needed me to be strong now. I found them in my apartment. Jenny was holding Lily as if she feared she might disappear. The child looked scared. Michael paced back and forth, running his hands through his hair, frantic. I showed them the message. Jenny burst into tears. She said they were watching her daughter. She said she would never forgive herself if anything happened to Lily. Michael wrapped his arms around both of them with a determination I'd never seen before. Marcos arrived 20 minutes later with 2 police officers. They took our statements, examined the message, made some calls, and said they would send a patrol to the friend's house where Lily had been, try to trace the number, and increase surveillance around the building. They did everything right, but it was clear they still didn't fully grasp how dangerous our parents were, how out of control and desperate they had become. After the police left, we sat in the living room trying to decide what to do next. Jenny suggested hiding in a hotel under false names. Michael thought it might be better to go to a cousin's house in another state. I just sat there, growing more irritated by the minute. This was absurd. We had done everything right. We followed the law, got protective orders, and still they were terrorizing us, still trying to control our lives through fear. I stood up abruptly. I'm tired of running, I said. Tired of hiding. Tired of letting them decide how I live my life. They already stole my childhood. I'm not going to give them my adult life too. Michael looked at me like I'd lost my mind. So what are you going to do? The truth was, I didn't know yet, but I did know I couldn't keep living like this. That night, we took turns keeping watch while the others slept. I took the first shift, sitting by the living room window with the lights off, watching the street below. Around 2 a.m, I saw a familiar car, my father's old Buick. It drove around the block 3 times before parking across the street. I took photos with my phone, then woke Michael. Together we watched as our father stayed inside the car, just staring at the building, not approaching, technically not violating the order, but making it very clear he was there, watching, waiting. In the morning, I sent the photos to Marcos. He said it was concerning, but didn't constitute a violation, since my father stayed in the car and at a certain distance. He told me to keep documenting everything and said he would speak to the detective again. I hung up feeling frustrated. The legal system had limits. Protective orders were just pieces of paper. They didn't stop someone truly determined to hurt you. Jenny and Michael decided to take Lily to a hotel for a few days, a place with interior hallways and reinforced security. I helped pack and hugged them both goodbye. I promised to text every few hours. When they left, I sat alone in my empty apartment and felt strangely calm, as if I had reached a point of decision, as if I knew I couldn't keep living in that limbo. I called Melissa, told her everything, and asked what she thought I should do. She was quiet for a moment, then asked a question that hit me hard. What do you actually want from your parents? Not what I didn't want, not what I feared, but what I truly wanted, and I realized I'd never thought about it that way. After we hung up, I made a list. What did I want? 1. To live without fear. 2. To have a relationship with my brother and his family. 3. To stop feeling responsible for my parents' actions. 4. To be free from the past. Reconciliation wasn't on that list. Neither was forgiveness, nor understanding why they did what they did. I just wanted to be free of them. That afternoon, I did something that seemed insane. I sent my parents an email, a short message. I know you're watching my building. I know you won't stop. So let's talk one last time. Tomorrow, noon, at the coffee shop on 8th Street. Just me. No police, no lawyers. After that, you leave all of us alone forever. I clicked send before I could change my mind. I didn't tell Michael, Jenny, Marcos, or Melissa. It was something I needed to do alone, for myself. I wasn't naive enough to believe my parents would suddenly become reasonable people, but I needed to face them on my own terms, say what I had to say, and close that chapter once and for all. My father replied within minutes. We'll be there. No threats, no emotional blackmail, just a confirmation. I spent the rest of the day preparing, not physically, but mentally, thinking about what I wanted to say, what they needed to hear, and the boundaries I had to make clear. I slept surprisingly well that night, as if making that decision had lifted a weight off my shoulders. The next morning, I got ready carefully, not to impress them, but to feel strong and confident. I took an Uber to the cafe. I arrived 15 minutes early. I chose a table at the back, where I could see the door without being too exposed to the street. I ordered a coffee I didn't really want and waited, surprisingly calm. They arrived exactly at noon, looking older than they had in court, more worn down. My mother saw me first and nudged my father. They walked slowly toward me, as if approaching a wild animal. They sat down across from me in silence. We stared at each other for a few seconds, those strangers who were biologically my parents, people who had shaped me in ways they would never understand. I spoke first. I didn't call you here to reconcile, or to give you money, or to listen to apologies. I called you so you would understand one thing. It's over. You didn't just lose the case. You lost me. You lost Michael. You lost your grandchildren. You lost any chance of being part of our lives. And if you don't accept that, if you keep chasing us, threatening us, or forcing your way into our homes again, I will destroy you. My father tried to interrupt me. I raised my hand. I'm not finished. I pulled out my phone and showed them the screenshots, the threatening messages, Lily's photo, the emails. I've already sent copies of all this to everyone in your lives. Siblings, church members, neighbors, former coworkers, acquaintances. I haven't made it public yet, but I will if you contact us again. If you show up at our homes, if you mention our names to anyone who knows us. My mother started crying. We just want our family back. We made mistakes, but we deserve another chance. We're getting older. We don't want to die alone. I looked at her for a long time. You should have thought about that before abandoning a 17-year-old daughter, before lying to everyone about what you did, before invading Michael's house, before threatening your own granddaughter. My father exploded. You're ungrateful. You were always difficult. You turned your brother against us. You owe us for raising you. I laughed. I truly laughed. Do you really think you deserve gratitude for doing the bare minimum as a parent for 17 years and then completely abandoning me? Do you really think your parenting was so wonderful that I should be thankful for it? He didn't know how to respond. He just sat there, red-faced and silent. My mother kept crying, but I felt nothing. No guilt, no pity, just a cold clarity. These people were never going to change, never take responsibility, and never be the parents I deserved. I stood up. This is your last chance. If you violate the restraining order again, I won't just call the police. I'll make sure the entire world knows exactly what kind of people you are. I have the means to make your lives very difficult if you force me. I don't want to, but I will if it's necessary to protect my family, my real family. Michael, Jenny, Lily, the people I chose. As I walked away, my mother shouted my name. Do you hate us that much? I stopped and slowly turned around. I don't hate you. I feel nothing for you. You're strangers to me now, and that's your loss, not mine. I left that cafe feeling lighter than I had in years. I called Michael while I was still on the sidewalk and told him everything. At first, he was upset that I had met them alone, then worried about possible retaliation. But more than anything, he seemed relieved that someone had finally confronted them face to face. He said he wished he'd had that courage years ago. I went back to my apartment, packed a bag, and decided to join Michael and his family at the hotel for a few days, just to be safe. When I arrived, Lily ran up and hugged me. Aunt Emma, she shouted for the first time. I almost cried. Jenny hugged me too. She said she was proud of me and hoped I could finally find peace. Michael just squeezed my shoulder. He didn't need to say anything. The next few days passed in a strange limbo, waiting for my parents' next move, checking our phones constantly, jumping at every sound. But nothing happened. No calls, no messages, no emails, no sightings of their car, just silence. After a week, Michael and Jenny decided to return home. They changed the locks again, installed security cameras, and started thinking about selling the house and finding something closer to my city. I went back to my apartment, back to work, back to something resembling a normal life. 2 weeks passed, then a month. Still nothing from my parents. Marcos kept a close eye on everything. He said the detective had confirmed my parents had returned to the state where they used to live, that the restraining orders were still in effect, and that it was important to stay alert, but also to try to move on with our lives. And little by little, that's what we did. Michael got a new job in my city. Jenny enrolled Lily in preschool. They bought a house 20 minutes from my apartment. We started having dinner together. Every Sunday, we began building new traditions, new memories, a new kind of family based on choice, not obligation. I thought I would feel something about my parents, sadness, guilt, anger, but deep down, what I felt was relief, as if I had finally let go of a weight I'd been carrying since I was 17, as if I could finally look forward instead of being trapped in the past. 6 months after the meeting at the cafe, I received a letter that Marcos forwarded to me to keep my address private. It was from my mother. I almost didn't open it. I even considered throwing it away unread, but curiosity won. The letter was short, just a few paragraphs. This time, there were no empty apologies or demands, just an acknowledgement that they had deeply hurt me, that they had failed as parents, that they understood why I no longer wanted contact, that they were in therapy, that they would respect the court orders, and that maybe one day I might be willing to hear a real apology, but that they would understand if that day never came. I showed it to Michael. He had received a similar one. We talked about it over dinner that night, whether it was sincere, whether it changed anything, whether we could ever trust them again. We didn't reach any conclusions. We just agreed to take it one day at a time, to prioritize our healing, to protect the family we were building. I put the letter in my desk drawer, not because I'm ready to forgive or want reconciliation, but because it represents something important. My parents finally acknowledging my right to set boundaries, my right to choose who enters my life, my right to define what family means on my own terms. Last week, Lily turned 4. Michael and Jenny invited me to help with the party. We held it at my apartment. Balloons everywhere, a cake from an upscale bakery, gifts piled on the coffee table. Lily running around in a princess dress, laughing. Jenny taking photos. Michael grilling burgers in my kitchen. Friends coming and going all day. So much joy. So much life. At one point, I stepped into the kitchen just to have a moment alone. I stood in the doorway, watching. Michael spinning Lily in the air. Jenny laughing at some joke. And my apartment, once so quiet and empty, now full of life and love. I thought about that little note on the kitchen counter 12 years earlier. You'll figure it out. And I did. Not in the way they imagined, but I discovered what family is, what true love is, and what I always deserved. I'm not saying everything is perfect now. I still struggle to trust. I still go to therapy every week. I still have nightmares about abandonment. I still jump when the doorbell rings unexpectedly. But I'm healing. All of us are rebuilding something new from the wreckage of the past. Something stronger. Something chosen. Something real. Sometimes people ask if I'll ever reconcile with my parents, if I'll let them meet Lily, if I'll ever forgive them. I don't have those answers yet. Maybe someday. Maybe never. But what I do know is this. I am no longer defined by what they did to me. I am defined by what I built afterward, by the person I chose to become, by the family I chose to create. And that, on its own, is enough.